Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric on our continuing series, the Unported playlist, where I take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time, and today we have a Hot Dog Storm. You read that right, you heard that right, the name of the game is called Hot Dog Storm. It's a shmup released by a company named Marble in 1996. They apparently developed only one other game, a golf game for PlayStation 1, and quickly left the scene. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell, definitely helps us out. I'll give you a hot dog, and if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But the weirdest thing about Hot Dog Storm is the fact that the game has absolutely nothing to do with hot dogs, and that is a massive disappointment. Had this been a hot dog themed shmup, hot dogs, ketchup, mustard, hamburgers, all those kind of food items, I think this would have been one of the best shmups of all time just for the weird factor. But it is not based on hot dogs whatsoever, it just has a really strange title. But what is here is a really competent shmup. It's definitely not the best I've ever played, and it is by far not the worst I've ever played. I would say this is like a B- shmup. But the thing is, so few people have ever heard of it outside of the fact that maybe it has a weird title, that they're actually missing out on a really good shoot 'em up that they've probably never checked out. And that's kind of a bummer, but I get it, it happens. But now that you're watching the video, if you didn't know it existed, you do, and you too can play a not hot dog themed of a hot dog title shmup. And how many times do you get to utter that sentence in voiceover? Let me tell you, this is the first, and probably be the last. But all jokes aside, I actually do really like Hot Dog Storm. It feels older than 1996. This feels like something that would have come out in 1991 or 1992 on the Capcom CPS hardware. So the developers Marble definitely weren't pushing the genre whatsoever. But graphically, it's fun. I mean, it's definitely a generic space shooter. You're in a spaceship, you're shooting spaceships. Nothing about the game is doing anything that you haven't seen before. But if you're looking for something new to play and you played everything else, this is an awesome candidate. I do like some of the boss mechanics. You'll see here as we get up against the first boss, he has different areas of his ship that are vulnerable, and as you knock them off, he's going to lose a projectile attack. And I will say, if you're looking for a relatively challenging shmup, this game is relatively difficult from the first stage, and when you get to the final stage, it becomes incredibly hard. So if you're looking for a new game to one credit continue, this would be an awesome candidate. But I do like that the developers were thinking ever so slightly outside of the box with those areas that you need to attack and break off before more of the boss's ships become vulnerable. And I do like the patterns as well. They can feel sometimes ever so slightly cheap, like it wants your quarters, but I get it, it's an arcade game and it definitely does want your quarters. But the bullet patterns are good enough that it's really intriguing and you do want to keep playing the game and you can get better at it. But as we move on to stage 2 again, you'll see that this game for 1996 is definitely lacking visually. And I'm sure you're wondering, why did I put this on Unported playlists when I always say some of my favorite Unported arcade games of all time? Because I've played pretty much every shmup at this point in time, but up until a few years ago I hadn't played or heard of Hot Dog Storm, and when I turned it on I said, this is good, I enjoy it, I want to play from start to finish, and it's one more game in a genre that if you love and haven't played, you're definitely going to want to play, because everything that's here is really good. Just think about this coming out in 1991. Ignore the year of release. This comes out in 1990, 91. It's going to get a lot better reviews. And I will say, if you read the reviews online from other people, they're going to tell you Hot Dog Storm is a waste of time. And I think that's just because of the strange name and the fact that it's decent but not great. It's a really easy game just to kind of make fun of and rag on a bit. But I will say the soundtrack, for what it is, isn't bad. It's generic, but I definitely let you guys hear all the soundtrack, so enjoy about a minute of Hot Dog Storm, and I'll be right back without hot dogs. The soundtrack is generic but good, and some of the sound effects can get a little loud and start to clip the speakers. You can definitely tell that Marble, whoever they were, weren't bad at developing video games, but they weren't great at the fine touches. But I still do love the boss mechanics, how they have those different areas to attack. And like I said, if you just think about this coming out in 1990, it actually is a really good shmup. But here's my complaint about the game. If you're going to call a game Hot Dog Storm, how in the hell are you not going to give me hot dogs? Because that would have made this game probably way more popular than it was. If they just did a weird shmup, a cute 'em up with hot dogs, I think that would have been a big hit. Now, if you want to buy the PCB for this game, I have absolutely no idea what you're going to pay for it, because I cannot find a single one for sale. It's possible that this game may sell for cheap. It's possible this game may be multiple thousands of dollars, and I 100% would not pay that for it unless you have to have a full set of arcade shmups. Why didn't this game get ported? Well, it came out in 1996, and it's only relatively decent. Of course, we know why this game never got ported home. Nobody was interested in this type of game in 96. Of course, it could have run perfectly on the PlayStation or the Saturn, but there was plenty of other shmups on that system that had name recognition. I don't think you really would have moved too many copies of Hot Dog Storm, especially after people found out that it wasn't about our favorite encased meat product of all time. But for what it is a lot of fun. I genuinely do enjoy this game, and I think it is a really good shmup. It gets made fun of a lot, and that's disappointing. I'm not going to blow smoke up your you-know-what and tell you that this is a hidden gem of the shmup genre. It's a hidden, decent version of a shmup. But that's good enough for me, because if you played them all and you haven't played this one, why not? You'll see as the bullet patterns come out, the game is difficult. I navigate around some of them, but not all of them. But I will say that your hitbox is fair, and if you make a mistake, that's because you hit the bullet, not because the hitbox wasn't being fair when you were passing by it. And you'll see that we have bombs as well. They can kind of be spammed. When you're playing free play, the game becomes much easier just because you don't have to worry about how many quarters you put in. They don't exist. But it would be fun to try to just say, I'm going to put 9 credits in and see how far I can get and continually play the game. Because as we're moving on to stage 4, we're in this kind of space infrastructure, and I do like the scale of it. Everything does have nice depth. But yeah, that's Hot Dog Storm. It's a strange game that only ever gets talked about because of its title. No one ever really talks about the actual mechanics of how the game plays and functions. But if you're into shmups and you're looking for something new to play and you've played pretty much everything and you want to check something else out, you could do a lot worse than this game. I love the power-ups. I love the different attack patterns, the bomb structure, how everything plays. I would actually, now that I've done with this, upgrade it from decent to good. This is a fun shmup. It feels kind of like Raiden with the fact that you can scroll the screen left and right. It's not as good as Raiden, but it's pretty close. But yeah, leave me a question or comment down below. Have you ever played Hot Dog Storm? Have you ever heard of it? Would you rather this game have actual hot dogs in it than spaceships? Short of that, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, that notification bell, definitely helps us out. I will be back next Sunday with an episode and Unported playlists, a lot of videos throughout the week as well. But that's Hot Dog Storm. I'm kind of hungry. I'm thinking maybe it's going to be a hot dog night for dinner. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.